In the spirit of respect, authenticity, and reconciliation, the town of Slave Lake honors and acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional lands of Sawridge First Nation within Treaty 8 territory, home to Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit peoples who have occupied these lands since time immemorial. Councillor Gromling.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor. And that is carried. Councillor Wallem.
Make a motion to adopt the regular meeting of council minutes for June 4th, 2024.
Hold on one moment. Discussion.
You weren't here, Ali, so one of these guys have to make that motion.
Oh, there you go. Absent. Okay, Councillor Adams.
Motion to accept the regular meeting of council of June 4th, 2024 minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Any further discussion? Call the questions in favor. And that is carried. Councillor Hughes.
Take another crack at it.
No.
All right, motion to accept the minutes from June 11th, 2024 committee of the whole meeting as presented.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor. And that is carried. Fantastic. All right. Up first, we have our delegation, which is the Slave Lake Tourism Society and Alberta North Central Alliance. So if you guys want to come up to the mic there, and then if you can state your name and what organization you are with, please, and thank you.
Do we get a red light? Oh, we do.
Yeah, red light's on. They can hear you.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors. I'm Lana Spencer. I am Director on the Slave Lake Regional Tourism Society and also a counselor for the Municipal District of Western Slave River. I'm Jennifer Churchill. I am the Executive Director of the Alberta North Central Alliance. And we are here today to talk tourism. You guys are a member of ANSA, but you also have a board representative on the Regional Tourism Society. And so we would like to talk to you about tourism and the thoughts of the region and kind of the looking forward into what that could look like for the town of Slave Lake, but not just the town of Slave Lake, for the whole entire North Central. Perfect. So,
Great. Thank you.
I have this printed for you.
Yeah, you can just let them know when you want to switch the slide and we'll change it for you.
Awesome. We have a guy. Okay. Can't do it. Yep. So yeah. Okay, so the Slave Lake Regional Tourism Society, the vision, a four-season destination nation where engaged residents embrace travelers from around the world, delivering a compelling array of travel experiences while supporting a range of joint. Oh, sorry. I didn't bring my reading glasses. Sorry, where am I? Experiences while supporting a range of jobs, careers, and passions, and above all, honor the history, culture, and the geography of the territory, especially Indigenous peoples and their deeply rooted stewardship. Our mission is to go through commitment and leadership. Slave Lake Region will collaborate to build and cultivate a sustainable tourism industry that delivers an expansive range of authentic experiences to visitors while improving economic and social viability for all the residents. So the Slave Lake Tourism Society was developed out of Tri-Council. You guys know you were there. The current stakeholders right now are the MD of Lesser Slave River, Sawridge First Nation, and yourselves. The board has 3 elected officials and one representative from the 6 public members. Right now, they have a tourism coordinator who works part-time. Their office is out of the Slave Lake Information Center, and they have done a variety of different things for tourism locally. Oh, look at you. Got one more. Thank you. So they've done a tourism meet and greet twice, and they had a variety of different tourism operators, not just from the town of Slave Lake, MD of Lesser Slave River region and Sawridge First Nation. They had people attend from all over the entire North Central because we have tourism operators that are needing support.
And this is the only group that exists like it. So people from all over the whole region came because they needed support, and this is where they found. So in the time that they had spent working with the tourism operators for the whole group, the whole region, including the ones here, they found that the three things that our tourism operators are looking for support for are marketing and social media, funding sources with a lot of comments about grants, and how to transition their business into the winter months. And actually, one of their meetings that they had, I was not yet the executive director for ANSA. I was just the chairperson for the Kinsale Museum out in Canuso, and I was one of the people who attended that was outside of the kind of catchment of the group, but wanted to kind of hear what was kind of going on. So ANSA was established in 2021. Again, Town of Slave Lake is a member, and we are a formalized commitment between 5 municipalities and 4 First Nations. And we did a strategic plan in 2022 before it became on. The mandate of the ANSA is to build strong, enduring, transparent intergovernmental relationships. And we are working together to advance key regional interests. In our strategic plan, tied for first place was to develop tourism and cultural tourism opportunities. So all 9 members in this whole region of ANSA, tourism is one of the priorities that they would like to work on. So when I came on, I started to develop, the first thing that my board got me to do was to develop a website. And one of the key things they tell you to do when you develop a website is to have links. Tourism was initiative number 1 of 3. So I went to go put Travel Alberta onto our website and realized that our area, none of us exist on Travel Alberta's website. And so I took that back to our board, and we decided first as ANSA to try to advocate as a region to put ourselves on the map, so to speak. And so that's when I came to the Lesser Slave Lake Regional Tourism Society, and we kind of talked about how we could partner together to make that happen. Since then, just so that you're aware, on the website, we're under the Lakelands region, and we have been advocating both groups together to highlight our region on their website. Since then, ANSA has been working on getting our square. We investigated some regional grants. Tourism is a hot topic across the federal and provincial government right now. There's lots of different grants and support things out there. And in the in-between, I was made contact with the Tourism Growth Program. It's a federal program that is to support tourism in rural areas. And I took a meeting with them. And one of their suggestions is in the Peace region, they have a regional tourism society that supports a large region. Slave Lake Regional Tourism Society was already aware kind of them, but then I also learned in the in-between Mackenzie County, which advocates for tourism in the city of Zama. Have you guys ever been to Zama?
No, but
It's beautiful,
It's up there.
right? It's up there. And so this is one of the things that they advocate for that region as well. In the in-between, Grand Prairie now is also starting this regional tourism society where they're looking at this whole broader spectrum. So in the north, this is kind of the structure that works. The TGP lady is the one who kind of suggested that we take a peek at that. So we came back and we talked about that as between ANSA and the Regional Tourism Society. We met a few months ago as a ANSA, and my group kind of advocated for me to go and support the Regional Tourism Society into becoming regional, because that's the model that's been working for the rest of Northern Alberta. In the in-between of there, we have worked with Peace River. We've sat down with them. We've talked about their model. We've been given some information about how their bylaws work, what services they provide, etc. In the in-between, ANSA has hired a ballot group for 3 regional studies, one of them in tourism. We're going to be doing a tourism opportunity assessment along with a regional mental health and addictions assessment, and one for a workforce study. And we've also been kind of working with the Regional Tourism Society to look at what steps need to be taken in order for them to support tourism regionally. Our whole area has wonderful tourism providers that are working very hard, but none of us individually have it all. But together, we have a really robust tourism economy. It's just spread out more so than kind of packed into this nice little tight package. And that's why it's been recommended that, you know, Peace River, Grand Prairie, Mackenzie County, and Fort McMurray all use this structure. So the proposal summary. Perfect, thank you. Is based off of what the Mighty Peace region has built. This provides their society with a base for grants. It's hard to get grants without some seed money, right? There's very few grants out there that you can get without any sort of kick in or contribution. So the Peace River Mighty Peace Society uses this as a launching spot to build tourism projects that can receive funding elsewhere. It's predictable and consistent for them. It has this proposal we're offering or suggesting has a 5-year progression, because we understand that it's going to take a while for their society to get to do what the Peace River Society does. This is not going to be overnight. And so we're asking everybody that we're coming to kind of consider what this will look like over time, as opposed to what's going to happen quite yet tomorrow. So it has a progression of fees with yearly targets of what services it'll provide. Well, you can speak if you want to, but no, you're good. They're really focused on what can they provide to the tourism operators and how that rolls out. And so the first year is everybody, everybody that chooses to buy in has some yearly targets, and then every year the services that they provide will expand. It's based off of the other tourism societies funding model that each municipality, settlement, or nation buys in on a per capita basis. But they also get board representation and a yearly fee from the tourism operator. The society has, at this point, if your nation or municipality or settlement buys in, all of your tourism operators get the first year free. And the reason why they were looking at that is, how do we provide value for dollar? How do we get tourism operators to understand that this is a support that they could use, but also that slow progression into building something long-term. If your nation or municipality or settlement owns a tourism operation or runs an event, anything that's considered over 2 days is a considered event, just gets built into that buy-in, right? Yeah, and so then there's the proposed 5-year fee scale. So year 1 would be a $2 per capita. Again, any tourism operators that you have in the town of Slave Lake would not have to pay the membership for that first year. It just comes built in, and then it's slowly, year 2, it stays the same, and then it starts to slowly increase. That's just for inflation. I think it was $2.60, I think 50 some that the Peace River is at right now. They started at $2. They have quite a few more municipalities as memberships, but it's just slowly kind of increasing every year. And that provides them with consistent and predictable funding that they can go ahead and apply for grants for. So as soon as your municipality or nation joins, your tourism operators will have an introductory conversation with the society to gather information about their business. Honestly, through this work through ANSA, I'm finding that we have most of the answers in our region. People don't know that those programs and services exist, right? And so you'll have a conversation with somebody and they're like, we have this great event. It's this huge Skidoo rally, but the problem is we don't have anywhere for people to stay. So they're having to drive up from Whitecourt or wherever else in the in-between. And then it's like, guess what? Have you met Traveling Timbers? Who does, all these other different sorts of things. So some of it is just understanding who our tourism operators are and what they need. And then that creating of collaboration. Indigenous tourist operators will be assisted in a referral to Indigenous Tourism Alberta. They're a provincial group that actually is really interested in supporting the region. We need to get our tourism operators registered on ATIS. So ATIS is the way that the Travel Alberta and other different provincial bodies determine how many people or what businesses exist that are tourism based. We have very few businesses registered on ATIS, so therefore it looks like we don't have a robust tourism region. We're going to provide access to local website designers for them to improve a website. We're looking at talking to different businesses all across the region, asking if, you know, they would give a discount if they're a tourism operator. So we can give to tourism operators need a website. Here's a list of people in this region. And this is what they do. And here's the deal that they can offer you. Do you need assistance with social media? Again, here are the people. Mention you're with the tourism board and you can go from there. Yeah, actually an interesting conversation today with Community Futures that does lots of those other different sorts of things that we can hook people up with. There's a Canada Digital Adoption Program, which is a grant for small businesses, depending if you're applicable or not, to get websites up and started. They'll receive a monthly newsletter, including grant opportunities. They'll get their signature events posted on the Society's webpage and Facebook page, weekly posts highlighting different regional tourism. There's grants available for Canada Summer Jobs, Young Canada Works. I know lots of times municipalities and charities apply for those, but I don't necessarily know if businesses know that they can get some summer student support in that way as well. And those grant applications are daunting and long. And so if you have somebody that can either show you how to walk through, or here's a template that you can start from, or here's how this works, people are more likely to apply if they've got somebody to kind of support them. Travel Alberta has a wide variety of grants that most of our operators are not accessing. They'll receive an invitation for the fall tourism operator meeting. And the first year is really going to focus on building that strong regional network. How do we get people in touch with other people who can help them expand and grow the business? Again, just a reminder that ANSA is doing an opportunity assessment for tourism. I think that would mean to have a society in place with some data that here's some of the businesses that could do well in the area and what we need or what we want. We could really encourage tourism for this entire region.
Sounds good. So over the next 2 to 5 years, expanding the staff. Right now we have one tourism coordinator. We're kind of trying to do her part-time shift into a full-time job, which is a lot for her. And our focus is on hiring regionally. The addition of a marketing coordinator targeting Facebook ads, expanding the Tourism Society webpage, including an events calendar, the creation of print materials, trade show booths, and attending trade shows, developing cluster opportunities for experiences or circle tours, an expansion on grant services, which is huge, a regional tourism ambassador program, and a dark sky program.
So over 5 years, this society with the regional approach could probably, will do a great job at supporting the whole region's tourism with that little bit of consistent funding. That's something that they could use to apply for grants for, without having to worry, you know, about how do you keep your staff next week. When you're trying to worry about how do you keep your staff next week, it's hard to expand on growth, right? And so this plan works for Peace River Country, for Grand Prairie. Like I said, they were just like the other day got an application on Indeed to apply for their executive assessor position, right? Like it's in the north, it's the model that's being used, it's the model that's being suggested. And so with that, we'll open for any questions.
Okay, floor is open for questions. Counselor Moellem.
Firstly, what is the Dark Sky program?
So the Dark Sky program is a program where you come and look at the dark sky. In the city, you can't see that, right? It's interesting, mostly through the museum, but there's a big group of people who come up to the north to see the Northern Lights. And they're coming up actually to Alaska and don't realize that the whole area, but it's that we're so blessed here to think that there's groups of people who come out to see places at night, like the stars and the constellations, and how do you view them, and northern lights and all those things. And so because we have very little light pollution, and it's kind of this movement of tourism to come out and sit in nature and see the actual night sky as opposed to skyscrapers and stuff. It's something that's happening all over the place, and we're perfect for it.
Councillor Grandma.
How many other communities do you think want to get involved?
Well, we're starting with the MD of Lesser Slave River. Well, not by we, I mean
Yep.
them, and Town Slave Lake, Sawridge Green First Nation, because they are the members already. We are going to approach. We have booked in to go see the different members of ANSA when we sit around the ANSA table, which you're there too. If they sound like
They do.
they're interested in some sort of a collaboration, right? It might be a little bit different when they're sitting at the ANSA table as opposed to their council table. But I believe that we probably will get most of quite a few of people from around that table to join. And then there's other group members that aren't Town of Swan Hills, the settlements that we also will approach to see if they would like to join or not.
And then maybe more for Lana or Kim. Do you think that one full-time position will be enough if you get 5 or 6 other municipalities to jump in, or will you need an extra full-time position? Because
We talked about that and it was like, this is a lot to put on the shoulders of
Yeah.
one person. But like the way that the grant structure is, if we get the grants, because you have the regional, you're able to apply for more grants. They're open more to operational, like the 10% buy-in from the per capita that we're going to be requesting will cover the 10% on these grants because they're a 90-10 split. So if we start getting those grant funding in, it'll support the operations. Then like in the report, it said, then we can broach off and into
Yeah.
marketing coordinator, that kind of stuff.
so just deal with it as it comes. But
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
the other, and the one is mostly Peace River, is they have 2 full-time staff members, but it's again,
grant related.
grant related. So you have the base to start off with, and then you design projects to promote different regional initiatives, and it goes from there. I think that if you didn't necessarily go regional and just stuck with the 3 for the 3 municipalities and nations to everybody chip in enough to cover a person would be significantly
Yeah.
more than to divide it by more.
I'll just add a point to that as well. So in terms of the marketing specifically for this, what we're also thinking or wanting to consider is just that fact that when we chase a larger grant for marketing purposes, we would contract out that position with someone who is very seasoned and understands what they're doing. So our full-time admin would not necessarily be doing
All
the
the-
heavy lifting and the type of marketing that
Not-
we're
Yeah,
expecting.
you're not asking them.
She
to
would be
the
doing the
jack of all
daily
trades.
admin
Yeah.
pieces. Yeah, so that's just to
Yeah,
differentiate there.
sometimes it's
sure.
hard. I know we've experienced it on the chamber when you have, you're hiring one admin executive to be the magical end all be all of this position
Yeah.
where it's easier to and more effective to contract out those
Contract,
pieces.
yeah.
And there is, sorry to interrupt, but there is, you said it, I know a lot of grants don't have operational or like administrative funding,
Mhm.
but some of the ones we're looking at, there's pieces to that.
Well, it's project based, right? Most grants are gonna be some sort of project based. So you build a project base that you're gonna start building circle tours around golf,
Sure.
right? And then you build in some of the time for that in the in-between. And like you said, if, I don't know if you have a copy of their proposal, but over 5 years, it's a slow build and a
Very slow, yeah.
progression, right? Because it's better to do it well, slowly than to take on too much too quick, right? So it's just that slow building the first year. So just getting that kind of regional piece, but also making sure that our tourism operators are getting that support that they need for some of the very specific things that they asked for, and then to build out from there.
Do you want, you can go ahead, I have more, but you go.
Don't even have to put my hand up
I know
anymore.
why, there's a look.
You got the look, yeah, the tension. Okay, a couple questions for you then. You've stated how many municipalities you're hoping to get in with. What is the population of that?
So ANSA has 40,000 would be with all the different communities in ANSA is 40,000. I believe.
Fairly.
Yeah,
Okay,
fairly confident.
that just seems high.
Can we
You
adjust?
had-
the-
you
Sorry,
had
Just
double
based on,
just one sec, can we adjust the microphones
Yeah.
that it stopped?
Feedback.
We want you to fix this. We're leaving our mics on.
So, okay, do you need me to turn mine off then too, or no? Okay,
I just wanted to mention that that was based off of 2021
Yep.
census data, I believe. That was the most updated census data that we could access at this.
So
current
there's
moment.
people in Ansa that are outside those 9 communities, because running the census on those 9 communities does not add up to
Well,
40,000.
She mentioned like Swan Hills too.
Yeah, so, and
Yeah, that's
again,
part of it.
I don't have the exact
it?
number in front of me. I
Original?
should have
Okay.
printed that off. I should have brought the exact number, but it's approximate in there somewhere. Yeah.
The next question then would be, what is the, what amount does Peace River take in their per
Significantly
capita
more.
funding?
So they do $2.85, I believe.
Yeah.
And I can pull out the exact number, and they have quite a few more municipalities that are
What's their
members. And their
population?
population is quite a bit higher. Yes, their population is quite a bit higher.
But we don't know what that is.
Not off the top of my head. No, I can, but it is significantly higher. Absolutely.
I will interject. So I have a few notes from the Peace Region meeting. So they started at $2 per capita, which is where we'd like to start. Now, 10 years later, they're at the 280, I believe is what you
Like
mentioned.
that, yeah.
So currently, right now, after 10 years, they have $90,000 every year of municipal partners that contribute, and they have over $25,000 worth of business memberships. They then use those funds to leverage the grants and then go case by case, depending on the event or the project that they're focusing on. So just to kind of give you a bit of a statistic there, she didn't actually, at least in my notes anyways.
I don't remember asking.
Oh, actually, sorry, I do have it here. Currently, they're at 17 municipal partners and they have over 100 tourism memberships. Is what I wrote.
Okay, so quick math then, there's 32,000 people
Mhm.
on that with your numbers. Which is 8,000 people less than we are. So we're planning on overtaking what they are. Is your eventual plan,
Not
Not
but
overtaking,
not right away.
starting our own. So
They're-
we
they-
have-
Oh, I know,
so taking in
size, volume,
Oh,
not taking
not
over the
business.
organization, but like if they're 32,000 and we're 40, we're going to be a larger.
So I'm just trying to wrap my head around, I'm not trying to be adversarial, I'm just trying to understand it.
No, for sure.
We have a very large area that you're trying to
10% of the
accomplish here.
province. Yeah.
And you're trying to do it with 80 grand. Right?
No, because the grants.
Right, no, but
with
for
the-
a base, so an 80 grand, 80-10, 90-10 split, you said, right?
Well, so this, where she's getting the 90-10 from is from the small community opportunity program. And so only municipalities can apply for that. And so where she's pulling that number from is ANSA is talking about, and at our table, helping everybody who wants to do this tourism initiative to apply for this grant, which is 90-10, to get promotional materials, et cetera. The other ones that the Regional Tourism Society can apply for, they vary significantly from 50-50 to 75 to
Yeah.
like there's a
It was just an
wide
estimate.
there's a wide variety of different grants, right? But under the model they have now, they get nothing. Right? There is no necessary buy-in, there is no consistency. It's just going from year to year, trying to collect some
The
sort
Slave
of.
Lake Regional Tourism Society she's talking
Yeah.
about is where, we're just using our.
We currently run that in the Tourism Society per year roughly,
In terms of what do you mean, a contribution?
Gross
Do you mean a
income.
budget?
budget.
A budget right now? The budget right now is about 25, 30? No, excluding grants,
No, that's what I mean, is total, what's our budget for a year that we had like last year?
like excluding
We spent-
grants.
We did everything, including grants, everything in.
With grants and stuff, it'd probably be around 50, I would want to say, because we maybe only we got about event grant and one other grant. We had a COVID relief grant that was about 15. So yeah, probably about 50, 55.
So if we're currently running on 50-55 in the existing, you're asking for a contribution to hit from municipalities of 80 grand, which
Well, that's
essentially
what
doubled.
tourism has.
then you're wanting to get more from the government. So our idea here for overall is to be able to hit roughly in ratio then
Right
300,
now,
400
the
grand
only way-
in a year spent.
Oh, sorry. The only way that the Tourism Society could function right now with a tourism coordinator, sorry, is that COVID relief funding that both municipalities, the town of Slave Lake and the MD of Lesser Slave River, when COVID shut down the greeting services, we used that pot of money because we share in greeting services at the VIC.
Remember that.
So that money, that funding has been supporting our coordinator for the last year, and gets stretched thin. So without that, we would have never been able to function like we have in the last year and a half and done the success that we have in the past year and a half, 2 years.
And so I believe that the per capita worked out to be about 55,000. Is that when we?
Yes, that was
makes sense.
correct. The rough initial math that we had done there. I just wanted to, because I know that's not quite what you're asking though. Am I correct?
Okay.
So do you want to just ask me again? What
Oh,
are you looking
you
for?
kick in, you know what I'm after.
I know, no,
I'm just wondering
I'm
what
picking
is,
at it. I'm close, but I just.
what's the plan here? I don't think our plan should be to spend 80 grand because
No.
that's not it.
So
Is our
the-
plan to spend 300 grand? Is our plan to spend 1 million? Like,
But the plan is to take the buy-in from municipalities, to give them a base consistent year from
Service.
year, you would know at least what you're
Yeah.
starting with, right?
Mhm.
And so then you take that base, and then depending on what project is on for the first horizon, right? Whether that be developing a tour booth to go around, whether that be expanding their website and making those connections, then you build projects that, again, just targeted Facebook ads, whether it be the dark sky program or whatever it is with a regional approach, to sit down and then build those circle tours, etc., with that base funding. And then you'd have to determine what project it is going to be from that year to go from there. Does that make sense? So it depends on what the goal is that year. Is the goal that year to link everybody's website and webpage and get everybody on ATIS and build this regional network? Is it to go to across the province with great materials that highlight the whole region? Is it a promotion to down south in the United States for all the people who are going up to Alaska to stop here, and here are some great videos and commercials and some different sites? It would depend on whatever the goal was that year to match the grant, right? So it would be some sort of regional project to get tourists up here using that 55,000 as a starting point.
so I don't know if in other communities have said this, but you're asking for a significant amount of money from our community to put in. And from that, how do we know in the grand scheme of things, we're not going to get lost?
Like your
Our
Town of Slave Lake?
yeah,
it basically ensuring how do we get ensure that our contribution, like they want to.
At the same,
like it's just,
these regional partnerships with
Yeah.
have been developed over the last few decades, but now in today's world with the technology and stuff, you have people that can come to a boardroom table and speak their minds virtually. You have that coordination, you have that ability to listen to all
So
of the
that,
members.
to interject then, I guess my question would be about how this group is controlled. Like, are there board seats? Like, what is the projected? I understand it might not all be fleshed out, but
No.
I think that speaks to Councillor Adams' question about how do we ensure that our municipality is heard and has its interest represented for it? Because obviously the town has a larger part, we're
Yeah.
7,000 of the 40, so a good chunk of it would be
And we'll have to, if we get all the buy-in, we'll have to recreate a new society bylaw. We'll have to
so be
redevelop
board
the old
seats
one.
and.
You will have to look
everybody who
at the
buys in
strategic
gets a
plan.
board
Mhm.
seat.
Mhm.
We have the bylaws from the other ones that work in the
Mhm.
north. These servers, right? It was the one that gave them, here's their structure, and we'll just repeat their structure with everybody who buys in gets a spot on the board, right? And I think to answer your question is we ensure that every single tourism operator gets the exact same level of service, regardless of where you're from, right? And worry less about where you're from and more about here are the services that every single tourism operator in the area gets, right? And have a very clear delivery plan that everybody that's an operator, this is what we're going to give you, right? And then just ensure kind of down from there. We just met today with the person who's doing our ANSA's strategic plan or regional research projects, did one for the Tourism Society, and they had some really interesting graphs here, which I can take in between, and I have not delved into them deeply. But it's talking about how much money tourism brings to the area, and I can give it to you, but Slave Lake actually receives quite a bit of tourism money from regional approaches, right? Like, so when people are heading this weekend or this week to the North Country Fair, right? It would be interesting to see how much of that kickback goes into other places that isn't just North Country Fair. I think that tourism dollars, even if it's the event is next door or the place is next door, that's the whole keeping the money in the region, spreading it around. There's definitely something to be said for that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so how do we make sure that you guys don't get lost? I think we just really focus on providing the services that our tourism operators need so that they can do their jobs well.
I think not only you'll get the residual spin-off from going to like that one-time event, but maybe if we're identified, now you can go to High Prairie for 2 days after that event. Then we're gonna check out Slave Lake for a day after. Like if we have the regional approach, you keep people here for a week instead of just 2 days and just going to one of the communities, right? That's kind of more the idea behind it.
And I think one of the things that came today, even from the meeting we had today that I never thought of, is building circle tours around signature events, right? This weekend, the area had the Drift Pile, Cree Nation had their powwow, and then there was also the but it's not called Bash at the Beach anymore because it's no longer at the beach. The Derby, right? And it would be interesting to, you know, if we knew those big signature events are coming, could we, you know, get people to stay for 2 extra days or 3 extra days and go up and hit up the Wabasca Golf Course, or go over and check out the Kinsale Museum, or all those other different sorts of things that, you know, we maybe not in a small space, but over a whole big region. We have some amazing things here, and we have some tourism operators that are working incredibly hard to try to make a go out of it, and they're looking for supports. And we've got a society that's already started to support. And I think if they expanded regionally, is what Anne says, is kind of directed me to help them advocate to do, we could support everyone, which would bring more people here as opposed to just coming for a thing and then turning around, making a day trip of it as opposed to making a week trip of it. Did that answer your question, Steve?
I just wanted to make one final comment in regards to his concern about the town of Slave Lake being represented or being heard. And I think I would say that that structure is very similar to what we have now. All of us on council sit on a committee, and we are there to fulfill council's direction and council's wish. So this would be no different than any other committee that we sit on. We would simply be sitting with a larger regional board of other municipalities and First Nations to discuss that regional approach and make sure that it is all fair and equitable, etc. But, you know, that direction would be set by this council to our representation, right? To ensure that we don't get lost, as you say.
Yeah. Councilor Hobbs.
How many year contract are you guys looking for, or commitment off the bat?
We really, how many year contract that we could one, but to kind of consider 5 years, it's going to take 5 years for this to get really going, right? I don't want to promise you by next year, they'll be able to do this, and this, because that's not going to happen, right? But over a 5-year progression, this board with some support, I think will be able to meet lots of these needs that are in the area. Right.
So basically works out to about 80 grand. $80,000 commitment over 5 years.
Over 5 years, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor Hughes.
Obviously, as someone who's quite close to this plan, just wanted to say thank you both for coming to present to us tonight. I think that this is personally the direction that we need to be heading. And I say that based on having been in the chair seat for over 2 years now and struggling with funding and struggling with the many things that we have been struggling with. Unfortunately, no one has handed this group a successful guide to tourism 101. In fact, we have had hardly any support, I would say, from Tourism and Travel Alberta included. So, you know, we've really been scratching our heads, and this has definitely been not something that we've thought ourselves up overnight. This is a proven method that has clearly worked for the Mighty Peace region and other regions in the North specifically. And that's one thing I really do want to stress, you know, how they do business and how these groups operate in the South or in Banff and Jasper is not comparable to what we do in the North. We all know at this table that those are two completely different things. And unfortunately, funding for a lot of those things provincially continues to be steered towards Banff, Jasper, etc. And so we have a really big challenge. And so I would say to my council that if anyone at this table expects any success in tourism in the future, we need to embrace some sort of sustainable funding model. Otherwise, the work that we have done in the last 2 years will be for nothing, and this group will go away once again. And that has really been the struggle overall. It's many stops and starts, and funding just continues to be that one thing that is really a huge hindrance to us. So we do feel like this base level of that around 55,000 for this operational component that we know we're steady. We can focus on this full-time employee. We can focus on meeting our goals. And I would say that we very carefully thought out this plan, just in the fact that I think the worst thing we could do in our position right now would be to overpromise and underdeliver on what services we can provide. And so this 5-year plan has been thought out pretty meticulously, and definitely in a lot of talks with the administration at Mighty Peace Region as well, to understand, how they got where they did and the time progression that they took as well. So we do feel that it is something that's very realistic that we can actually deliver on.
Well, and when you consider economic development, right? Like if we have supports in place and a regional study that kind of shows here are some opportunities for people to come in to build some of these tourism businesses, et cetera. So between a regional study and a regional group that's set up to support somebody who wants to start off new is, who knows what could happen down the road and with our tourism industry if we have the right pieces in place.
I like the plan. Obviously, we can't commit to nothing till we go through this kind of stuff at budget, but I think it gives the group stability. And I think I was sat on there for like 4 years with Lana and Kim, and that's one thing we always missed there was stability and not knowing. And we're going to try to do this event to raise some money to pay for that. This would give them a baseline of stability so they could actually do the events and chase the grant. So I'm in favor of it, but obviously we'll figure that out in the fall.
Yeah, I would like to just say that I also believe in the sustainability of organizations. I think my experience with the chamber and seeing how challenging it is to get consistent funding, especially when we're not necessarily a Banff or a Jasper as just our own town. We have a lot of fantastic amenities, but in reality, most of those are regional. And I think that a regional approach for us, like it has for the Peace Region, ultimately makes the most sense, because to sustain a tourist-based organization with just Slave Lake and MD and Sawridge, I don't see the sustainability. And I think the organization has tried many times over the years, as we've heard. And so I understand that from chamber experience, that it's hard to have just districts do that. So I am also, I think this is the model that I would like to see. I personally am supportive moving forward. Councillor Adams.
The one thing I'd like to request before we go into budget time and all that is what your OKRs are, like your objectives and key results, and what you're expecting out of this and what we can expect to see in each year, something that can be measured, something we can see as being success and what it looks like. That'd be about the only thing I'd ask for before I made a decision on this. But
Well, and we
thank you.
took the 2016 strat plan that was created. And we just had a strat planning session with a new group off of a grant. And hopefully we took all the things that didn't work from that strategic plan from 2016, what we can incorporate, how it could work with ANSA, and the measurables will come out of that. It's just still in draft phase, right? Council use. So.
It's just for our, and like Councillor Adam mentioned, just for our budgeting times, there's time, and for all of that, just some of the expectations of basically ensuring what the results for that dollar value, well, at least what our target results are to look for. We're looking for X number of dollars of I know with the Treaty 8 hockey tournament, we were able to determine the economic impact to the community. So we might be able to do that with some of the however they did that, or some of the funding that not the funding, the activities that come out of the regional tourism group, and the economic impact that, what's our target economic impact? Is there, or maybe it's not that, maybe it's target membership, just whatever those key metrics are. Measurables. Thank you. Struggling over words. Any other questions or comments from council? Counselor Hughes.
I just wanted to make one more comment to what you had said, Mayor, that we could continue as we are with the MD, the Sawridge and the town of Slave Lake. But if that was also the case, every entity would in fact be paying more then, even just to afford one full-time position, we would all be forking out more money. So the way I see it, this is better for our regional development and the broader sense. And I think the town of Slave Lake will continue to benefit economically in terms of our businesses, hotels, all of those supporting industry as well. I think we see that already, and I think that will continue to grow here for our local business owners as well. So I don't see a downside.
Fantastic. Thank you. We've taken up
Thank
so
you,
much of your
guys.
time with questions, but we really appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Yes. Bright and early, not that early.
Yeah. Counselor Adams,
Motion to accept as information.
thank you. Motion to accept as information on the floor. Any further discussion? Called question, those in favor. And that is carried. Okay. Jill.
Maybe we should have
Waiting
done new
for-
business first.
Yeah, sorry about that. Well, I didn't realize the level of discussion beyond the 10 minutes.
Kind of like, I'm interested because of the Vic too, so. I was kind of-
Fantastic. Well, thank you for patiently waiting, and the floor is yours.
All right, so good evening, Mayor and Council. I am here tonight to talk about the community event grant policy. So recognizing that community events are important to our area and to the community and its residents. A grant fund has been established to help support local events. So through that, we want to develop a policy and procedure that allows for fair and transparent and consistent processes for those that are seeking funding. So attached to the report is the policy and procedures. So the procedures that we have laid out go over what kind of groups would be eligible. So we've stated that groups need to be not-for-profit and Slave Lake based with services for the residents. Non-town groups would be considered if they're providing an event for residents where we don't have a similar service already available for the residents of Slave Lake. Eligible events would reflect the value of our community and be suitable for all demographics. We would place a higher priority on events that would be held in the downtown area or adjacent to Main Street or within the provincial park because of their accessibility and the value to the community. Assuming that funds are set aside each year through the budget process, our first grant intake would take place in March. This would be advertised through our regular channels like our website, social media, and we would advertise for a couple of weeks to a month. Grant applications would be required. Grant applicants would be required to complete the grant application, which we've attached the template to the policy, and then return the form by the deadline. From there, we would go through the criteria and grants would be awarded based on that. Should there be funds left over after the first intake, we would look at an intake in the fall. Generally, grant applications would be we would need to be making them for future events. However, in special circumstances, so given this year that we're not going to approve the grant fund or the policy until right now, we would be able to look at backdating in special circumstances for events that took place within the last 6 months. And so the criteria that we'd be looking to assess on would be previous experience with public events, the value to the community, alignments with our strategic priorities, and that events don't already either duplicate services or that they don't interfere with existing events. So we wouldn't want to, pick a new event to offer on the weekend that Riverboat Days is, because that wouldn't be a good fit for our community. And then we've also listed our ineligible events as well.
Ineligible events, so they don't provide direct benefits to town of Slave Lake, not open and available to the general public, have already received direct or indirect support from the town of Slave Lake for the stated service, and events that have an unreasonable admission fee structure. Okay, perfect.
And then things that are like flow through funds. So if you're taking money
Right,
and
yeah,
then
there's Part
giving
B.
it back as a prize kind of thing. So
Okay,
But not a fundraiser in Like, right, like when the flow through funds, I always run into
No,
like
I
Travel
think-
Alberta, so like, say the Rotary's doing an event and
777.
and the funds are to be raised for a new park or something, that
So
doesn't
it would
matter
be
here.
like if you're doing something where, you're like a curl, like essentially, I'll just use this as an example because I
Sure.
organized it, like the ladies curling bonspiel, like
Right.
all the money that you're
Is going
taking
out to
in is
cash
going
prizes.
back.
And not,
to
okay,
cash
just
prizes.
wanted to
So,
make sure that we're
yeah,
not
so it's not
limiting the
gonna benefit-
fundraising
like,
groups.
It's supposed to be benefiting the community.
Right,
as
so
a
for
whole,
instance, like, so
so-
let's say the Rotary's done it before, let's say they have a 777 event, where ultimately there's a large prize at the end, because that's what people buy
Yeah,
the
but
ticket, but
the
they're
money that
fundraising
they've raised is
for,
going back out,
Yeah.
or like,
okay.
yeah.
Perfect.
Councillor Hughes.
Just in the ineligible event there, when you say events that have already received direct or indirect support from the town of Slave Lake, is that like an annual thing? Like if
So
someone, like
they-
they're not gonna receive money
Say that they.
twice in
someone-
the year or something, if there's a second.
Or
increase.
say that someone came to us and they say, I want to break on my ice fees, and then they come back and they apply for this, and essentially they're taking this money and paying for your ice fees, like that's not. really
Okay,
good.
that's kinda what you mean
That's
when you
what
say
we're
that.
more like-
Trying to avoid the
Okay.
doubling
Yeah, the
up so
double
that
dipping,
more
so they're
people-
already getting subsidy through reduced ice fees, so then we're not gonna then take that money and then basically we're taking that money and paying ourselves. We're not, yeah,
Yeah,
the
and
community's not necessarily gaining any benefit from that.
right, and a reminder for context from budget, we had asked, we had changed the policy this year to have an arts and it's more for the benefit of the 10 people watching online. Hello,
Yeah, so-
Harry. Nice to see you, Mr. Bartlett. Mostly for the benefit of the individuals watching online is that our council wanted to take a look at the funding for the arts and funding for community events and make it more standardized so that and more widely known that there is some supports available and make it so that it's clear as to what's getting funded when. And so that is the purpose behind this policy coming back.
Correct. And also just having my experience here, like lots of the time when people come to me looking for money, my advice is go ask counsel. So then you guys don't have to hear people's, not that you don't want to hear from the public, but just that like you're not having a delegation every meeting that's a centralized spot. for them to-
Exactly. And if
Yeah.
there was an above and beyond request, let's say there
Yeah.
was the, event that's requiring
Yeah, or we have a once in a lifetime.
or a
opportunity.
once in a lifetime opportunity, then council would see those types of instances. But for our regular
Yeah.
occurring, this would be the channel that organizations would go through. Councilor Hughes.
Are you guys gonna require like a post-event report or afterwards so that
And-
they,
Yeah, and I guess, sorry, I didn't discuss that either. We would also require an agreement to say, like, to recognize the town of Slave Lake as a funding partner.
Okay,
To say, to stipulate, like, sometimes there are events where a portion meets our requirements, but a portion doesn't. So just to make sure that, this is what our funds are going for.
Right.
Towards, want to see a budget at the end, and yeah. How did
but
your event
after
go?
the event
Yeah,
though
and
as
how did your
well,
event
a
go?
form
Yeah,
to kind
how
of
did your
finish
event
off
go?
their
And,
grant.
Yeah, like, did you spend all of our money? Like, what did you do with it kind of?
Okay,
thing. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Moellem.
I'll make a motion that council approves the community event grant policy.
Okay, Councilor Adams.
Does this in any way contradict what we're wanting to do with the ANSA partnership and regional tourism? Just wondering if it's,
No.
No, I don't
We'd be
see it.
fine.
It's like, it's more, I mean, obviously events bring tourism, but we currently don't, like, from my perspective of what I do, yes, we run the Vic, but we don't have a lot of tie into tourism, so it's not gonna be, it'll support that, but not contradict it.
Yeah, I think it would be supportive as in here's the events that other organizations, because no event is likely going to run for the maximum funding of $2,000. So here's the events that Slave Lake is already having. And as Jennifer was speaking to earlier, we may be able to link up multiple events, which implies that each community is kind of already having their own events that other,
Mhm.
other groups are doing. So I think it would be an add, because even as part of that group won't be responsible for the entirety of tourism. It's coordinating it and making it a regional approach, like, hey, come take a tour around, here's your,
Mhm.
as I keep talking with my hands, I'm painting a map of where we're
Yeah.
going, but that's, I think, in my opinion, I don't think it would contradict. There's a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Okay, call to question, those in favor? And that is carried. Thanks, Jill. Okay, question period. Anything for administration? Counselor Hughes.
Since we've been on the topic of tourism tonight, Jeff, I just had a question for you. We had Jason create, I think he's calling it the Slave Lake Experience, the maps of business, et cetera, within the community, right? Is that what it's called?
I don't know if that's what it's called, but I think that's the general gist. though.
Okay, yeah. So I just had a question about those because I attended the Derby last weekend and there's just been obviously summer events going on. So the tourism side of me, just strictly town side, was remembering, oh yeah, we have these maps. We need to be distributing these. But then I realized that I don't believe there has actually been a budget approved to print these maps off. Is that correct? Oh,
Go ahead, Jill.
yeah, come weigh in, please.
Sorry, caught you at a good time.
Like before I leave. We have them at the Vic. We got a bunch printed. I never thought to bring some down to the town office, but we
Okay,
definitely can bring them down. But yeah, Jason shared it with us, and so we have them at the
Yeah, if we
Vic.
can get some at the
Yeah,
town
so I'll bring,
office.
Yeah. so where I was going with that was just saying, I think we have this fabulous map that obviously supports town of Slave Lake businesses. And I would love to see us
And I-
printing them off and distributing them out to the many people who are
Absolutely.
holding events this summer. is
And I
where
will
I'm
say
going.
that I know the Vic did see a very busy weekend with the Derby. and
Wonderful.
so-
Okay.
So to answer your question about budget, no, there was no budget allocated to this.
Right.
So
For printing specifically.
that's correct. Yeah. So
Okay.
we made the initial decision to absorb those costs in our operating budget for the Vic and for that initial purpose.
Okay,
But if any other events wanted to include them, that we would provide the digital copy for them to print on their own and not utilize the town as the printing department for all of this material. For
Okay.
other events. So
So-
that's the direction that's been provided so far. If council wishes to allocate a budget to that specific purpose, we could.
well, have we marketed this out to local groups to say, hey, we have this map. Let us know if you want the PDF to print it?
I'm not exactly sure who is Jason may have had that conversation with or not. I know
Okay.
that it's available. I know that the initial cost was substantial in what we did print already that we decided to absorb and, within our operating budget, but it wasn't, the intention was not to be able to print these for every other group that necessarily wanted
Maybe
them.
we can email them to chamber. Like.
Yeah, that's
to
a
go out to, like,
possibility.
Email it out to the chamber.
I just wanted to make sure that we're appropriately using them since we went to all of the effort to do them. They're honestly, excuse me, very well made. And it is tourism season, especially within the town as well. So I just want to make sure that we're capitalizing on that as much as possible. So perhaps I think for me, I would like to see some sort of budgetary allocation for print on these next year, because when you're thinking about an event like that, you're not always based on that like tour, like they're doing a million different things, planning an event. They're not thinking about that. I think if we at least had a standard amount where maybe we give 100 to a larger event or something, we offer it to them, the town of Slave Lake Economic Development Department. I'd like to see something along those lines where we set a standard for a certain amount printed that we perhaps provide. And if they want more, then sure, that could be on them. But I think I'd love to see a tweak of some kind in the future, just for the town businesses to get the exposure.
Counselor Adams.
You're not gonna like me, but I'm against that idea. What I kind of like, I know, right? I like the idea of providing the digital copy. I'd like to see our digital copy available online. To make that a little easier, so we have access to anybody in the community that wants to use it, because let's face it, I'm not really particular about making that a proprietary thing. I feel that the people that are putting on these events need to work this into their budget. But having the resource there, I think, is a big part of it. Getting businesses to commit to printing, getting any of that kind of stuff is a possibility. But to continually put it on the town, plus increase our hit by 80 grand, plus increase our grant money, plus increase printing, I think it's getting away from us. I'd rather just provide the raw detail and let them do it.
You probably want to say something first?
I think my comment would just be that a lot of organizers for events are already struggling to get funding for a lot of things. So that is not necessarily going to be top of mind. That's where I'm saying, I think it would be nice if we could settle on some sort of budgetary amount where we're not running away with it necessarily, but we're still providing a print material of some kind as an economic development initiative, really. We're business friendly. We want to grow the community. I think that that's something we should kind of be coughing up in an effort to support local business. But I understand that there's also should be a limit to it and that we can't necessarily run away with it. But that's my 2 cents.
Couple thoughts. Steve or Frankie, one of you said, reach out to the chamber. That's a good idea because they represent the business community. The other thought is, I'll talk about the demolition derby later, but 80 or so drivers, they could have made that as part of their package when you register. Here's a digital copy of all of our businesses in Slave Lake, and I don't want a piece of paper. I'm working off my phone all day. So that would be, if we get it to the people before with a digital copy, that'll work just as fine as the piece of paper that ends up in my garbage.
And I think that's where I'm trying to go with this, is that I would like to make sure that that's an initiative. You know, if our economic development officer understands that there is a large scale event that is happening with 100 drivers coming in, I would like this to be, you know, a known thing that he reaches out. He provides them with this type of information to pass along to those people. I just think that's a great extension that the town should already be doing in some capacity, but obviously we haven't provided that direction until this point. So I just wanted to bring it up now because it is summertime, as I said, and I think we have an opportunity to highlight, you know, everything we have to offer.
Agreed.
I like the idea of printing off a QR code that gets put on like a little like a gift bag. So when we have hockey teams coming here, baseball teams coming here, you know, we have something to give to the team. It's got the QR code, and like a lot of times they do ask for swag from the business community. So this could be kind of a partnership with probably the chamber or something. But I think I like that idea with you just got a QR code, you can scan the QR code and you got a whole number of businesses on there and you get their swag and everything all in one place.
Okay, so that was a lot of questions. That's a lot at once.
Did you capture all that?
Um,
I'm just kidding.
I captured the questions. There was no motion.
I know. They're just thoughts and ideas, I think, at this point.
well, and perhaps we can have, I don't know when the service level review is for ECDev /
There isn't really one that's in the regular schedule.
or strat
So-
plan with it. Maybe we can put something on the management task list requesting, I don't know, some information to come back about the plan for this map distribution.
Yeah.
Help me out here.
Just the map.
Yeah, the plan of,
Yeah, I can find an answer as to what we've done and what, you
Yeah.
know,
What
if it's been available electronically. I can answer those questions. I mean, some of these administrative reports take time to prepare and they're taking resources away from some of our other operations. So all I would caution is that before we add for extra reports, let's make sure they're worth
I don't
the
think-
cost of what we're looking for.
I don't think we fully need a full report, but perhaps just some information to come back to council on what we've done with the map, where it ended up.
I
and if
absolutely
there's
can do that.
Some plan that we've,
And even
About where
maybe a
it's going.
simple distribution plan, I guess, to let people know that we're happy to send them what we've created, should they want to print it off themselves
I would also. hope
in the
that-
meantime,
I
I
also would
guess.
hope that would be on the revamp of the website.
Yeah, there might be access to it. And I don't know for sure, but I don't believe we actually have any of these maps in our possession anymore. I think we gave them all to the tourist.
But digitally.
But digitally,
Digitally, yes, there could be access to it. And there might already be access off the website. I'm not 100% sure,
if,
but
I think that would be somewhere to look at. You can bring us back the information just as the question.
Yeah.
About the maps and then we can go from there. If there's already a plan for it to be on the website, then fabulous. But that would be an easy way to say, hey, there's this map on the website already there.
The other easy catch here would be when people apply for special event permits, this goes as part of the package.
That's a great idea.
Jeffrey? Hey, when people apply for special event permits, this goes out as part of the package, right?
it could.
Yeah, that's an easy win.
I think for me, like another aspect of where this is coming from is talking to manager of a local hotel as well, talking about the tourism side of things, our visitor information guide and that regional guide that we have of different mapping, but them also commenting, oh yeah, you know, we have a lot of guests that come in. It would be nice to give them something to show them where the Fix coffee shop is and all those different things. And so I do feel like there's a local element there that we're kind of missing out on for some of those people. And I was surprised at the level of people that still kind of enjoyed that print kind of hard copy map, but that is a thing that they are saying that they do get asked for as well. So I just don't want to miss out on a key
Direct them to
opportunity.
the visitor information center.
Directly to the
Tell them
visitor,
the whole whack up there.
Well, yeah, and I mean, we definitely can, but that's another step almost out of their way if they're already within the community, right? So.
Okay, so I guess that would just be a request to. for more information.
Information then,
Yeah.
like he's gonna come back with,
Not a.
Yeah,
request.
I will advise council of what I find out in terms of what we've done. Anything relation to additional budgetary, printing of more materials will require a budgetary adjustment.
yeah,
We can
So-
review that then.
okay, thank you.
Any further questions for question period? Okay, as I see none, moving forward into State of the Lake. Counselor Moala.
Okay. So this past Sunday, Muslims around the world celebrated Eid al-Adha, which translated means the Feast of Sacrifice. Locally, about 300 men, women, and children celebrated at the mosque locally across from Hilda Eben Park. The morning started with a prayer and was followed by a big breakfast that featured many foods from the different countries and cultures represented in our community. The rest of the day stresses spending time with family and visiting friends. I would like to wish all my fellow Muslims a belated Eid Mubarak.
Visit me.
Thank you, Counselor Moala. Counselor Gramlich.
I just want to give a shout out to my brother and sister-in-law for bringing back the demolition derby, now dubbed the Crash for Cash. It had 2,000 individual people attend each day. So just shout out to Gunnar and Corley Pearson and Brian Pearson, Joe Watson, and Regan Daniels for their help with the event.
Okay. Counselor Choba.
I'd like to remind everyone that June 21st is National Indigenous Peoples Day. This day is not just a mark on the calendar, but a profound opportunity for all that to acknowledge and celebrate the rich cultures, histories, and contributions of the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people of Canada. In Slave Lake, we are privileged to share this land and its history with the Indigenous communities whose ancestors have been its stewards for thousands of years. Let us remember that our town, like many others, is situated on traditional territories, a testament to the enduring presence and resilience of Indigenous peoples. This National Indigenous Peoples Day, let us commit ourselves not only to recognition, but to learning and understanding more about Indigenous cultures that surround us. Let's take genuine steps towards reconciliation and building bridges of cooperation and respect. I encourage every community member to participate in the local events celebrating this day. Let us listen to the stories, enjoy the music and dances, and most importantly, let us engage in meaningful conversations that pave the way for a shared future enriched by our diverse past. Thank you.
Mhm. Great.
You're gonna have to compete. You both put to continue, Counselor Choba.
On a different and sad note, I would like to announce the passing of Mimosa Mapongo, a valued member of Slave Lake African Caribbean community. She leaves behind her husband, Valentine, and her children, Yananiso and Valentine Jr. Mimosa's warmth and spirit touched many lives, and she will be greatly missed. Our thoughts are with her family and all who knew her during this difficult time.
Counselor Moala.
I have a couple more. I would like to send a shout out to Shanna Trudell. For the second year in a row, Shanna was a finalist for the Alberta Indigenous Women Entrepreneur of the Year Award. In 2023, she was in the top 12. This year, she's a finalist in the top 3. So congratulations on your achievement, Shanna. I got a couple more. The U13 AA Heat baseball team will be hosting Whitecourt, Fort McMurray, and South Jasper Place at St. Clair Ball Diamonds this weekend. This would be a great opportunity for the town to show off our beautiful ball diamonds, but it's also a good opportunity for our community businesses to show off our products and services. For many families traveling through sport, it can be the first opportunity to get introduced to our community. With this being the first week of summer, let's ensure that these families have a great time here and not only come back to Slave Lake, but also tell their family and friends about all the great people, places, and shops our community offers. And I got one more. I'd like to congratulate all our local graduates from high school in Slave Lake, especially my incredible niece, Dahlia. Delia Almais. I am so proud of the work she put in to prepare for this moment, and I'm so excited to see where she goes from here. I think back to my own graduation, and I swell with pride to now see our next generation walk across the stage ready to take on the world. So congratulations to all of you.
Thank you. Anything else, counselors? Counselor Hughes?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Thank you.